How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Tough game yesterday against the Twins. We felt like we had a nice lead, and then the bullpen falls apart, specifically Clay Holmes, who walks about it, gives up 2 hits, 2 earned runs. And the last couple of games, he's really struggled. He's given up 3 walks in his last 2 games, and, Ryan and I were just kind of discussing this. This is unusual. And, I was looking at his numbers yesterday. His sinker specifically has taken kind of a step in the wrong direction, and the spin rate is similar, right? He's getting a similar spin on it, but he's seeing a decrease in velocity of about half a mile an hour, so it's down to 96.5 from 97 last year. And his sinker last season generated a 200 batting average, and this year it's up to 263. So you're seeing, like, the numbers are just starting to fall off. He used it 69.1%. This year so far, but his sliders looked pretty solid. I wonder if they start to ask him to increase that slider number. And the whiff rate down from 26.3% on a sinker last year, 20.7%. And the exit velocity, 92.7 to 89.7 last year. And this year's 92.7. So you're seeing kind of that sinker is not getting maybe to the right location. I don't know if it's tailing down to the middle of the plate. It's not getting that same ride down and away against those lefty hitters, and then against the righties. He's trying to dot that outside bottom corner with the sinker and, generate those ground balls. And he's kind of elevating a little bit too much. It looks like, batters are waiting on it. They're ready for it, and they're getting extra base hits with it. So it's kind of become a pitch that, if it's not on, Clay Holmes is not good. Like, that's his bread and butter. It's the, slider sinker combination. But interestingly, his sinker is actually his primary strikeout pitch. So if that sinker is not working well, he is in trouble. And the Yankees need to find solutions, which could be Wandy Peralta or Ron Marinaccio in the terms of filling that closer spot. But yesterday's game, tough one. Of course, you got Stanton hitting a homer. Volpe gets his first homer, which is awesome for him in the leadoff spot. His numbers as a leadoff hitter are way better than batting ninth. Of course, the sample size is a little bit smaller, so it could just be that. And then you have Judge following it up with a solo shot himself. But Yankees need more run productions late in games. They're starting off strong, and then they're going quiet. We've seen that happen a couple over the past couple games, and we just need more support to the mid to late game. We can't only be scoring all of our runs in the first 2-3 innings. We need that late inning, run support. So, when you're looking at yesterday's game, Ryan, what are your impressions? Your quick reaction before we dive into the pregame analysis, in the series finale against the Twins today.
Yeah, I'm going to just say 2 things. One, Clay Holmes was like light. I mean, even this year, he was lights out against righties. I think he walked 1 righty or 2 righties, and he had not given up a single hit to a right-handed batter all year. So for all of the weird struggles he had against Cleveland, and for that one outing against the Giants where they just took him to town, it wasn't against righties. So you're like, okay, you're entering this game against Minnesota. Boone said it in the presser or the post-game presser where it's like, their best riders are coming up. That's that's where he figured Clay Holmes would succeed. I don't want to put that on Aaron Boone. I think that's very much just Clay Holmes didn't pitch well. As you mentioned, Clay Holmes' sinker this year has just not been there for him. And when that happens, that's on the pitcher, right? I'm not trying to sit here and say Clay Holmes should feel awful and he should hang his head low and he should go into the dugout and cry himself to sleep. I'm just saying that that game, you feel like you should win that game. You feel like anytime you have Clay Holmes up and it's the bottom of the lineup and they're all right-handed, you're like, all right, Clay Holmes is gonna throw a sinker. He can even walk a guy and he's just gonna go and get a double play. That's what Clay Holmes does. He actually did end up getting a double play in that inning. He got a lot of guys 2 strikes. The first batter who reached, I believe reached on a 2-strike count. Slider that just hung over the play a little bit, knocks it right over Anthony Rizzo, soft liner, and then Correa, 2 strikes, takes a sinker the other way, right? And that's just an impressive piece of hitting. But at the end of the day, you didn't have LeMahieu, and that you felt that in your lineup. You felt that in your lineup the last 2 days. Now you have LeMahieu in your lineup. I feel like that's a big step forward for this team. And then Volpe getting the monkey off his back with that first home run. I think that's important, right? That's remarkably important. I think Volpe going, let's say, most of April without hitting a home run. Not that it would have caused problems, but preferably you just want to get off your back, right? We know how tough it is to hit your first home run. Well, I don't know how tough it is because I'm not a Major League Baseball player, but I imagine it's extremely difficult. But yeah, that game was just a nightmare game, a gut punch. But today you have an opportunity to bounce back, and I can't wait to get started talking about this game.
Absolutely. Now, I wish we had Garrett Cole on the mound, but today we actually have Domingo German. So, interesting kind of pitching matchup. Tyler Mahle and German really It's a wash. I mean, both of them have very similar ERAs. Now, I know you really like Tyler, and you're going to kind of give us some more information to what kind of pitcher he is and actually why you think maybe the Yankees should go after him in free agency next year. But German has started off quite slow, right? He's a 4.09 ERA. This is obviously a pitcher who is more of a supplementary starter. You don't really look to him. He's a 5.87 ERA. Molly's one of the 4.09 ERA. So German's really struggled. We know this already, though. 7.2 innings. He's had 2 games started. He's averaging about 9.4 Ks per nine, but the sample size is small. He's walking a ton of batters, 5.87 walks per nine. That's not really his usual stuff. He usually hovers in the 2 to 2.5 range. 5.9 is ridiculous for him. That's certainly elevated numbers to say the least. They're making good contact off of him. The curveball wasn't really working last time. It was kind of flat. And the velocity, while up a tad compared to 2022, still only 93 miles an hour on the fastball. So, he's definitely a hittable pitcher. Domingo German traditionally isn't going to take you 6 scoreless innings. He's going to give up 2, 3, 4 earned runs along the way. You kind of need run support when German is on the mound. We have accepted this. And a lot of people in the comments that'll say, oh, well, how about the 18 wins he had back in 2019? Let me burst your bubble. It's 2023. It's 4 years later, and Domingo German is not that good. Following everything he went through from the domestic abuse charge to everything that he's kind of repented for up to this point. He's an okay pitcher, 3.61 ERA last year, but still gives up a lot of contact. Not a high strikeout guy. He's been batted around. Hopefully he can put together a much better performance today. You hope for the best as always. He is a Yankee, so we're always behind him. We're always supporting him. We want him to play exceptionally well. But Ryan, when you're looking at Domingo German, what does he got to do to kind of round out this performance? What does he got to do to bounce back after 2 tough outings and show us that he can be a productive part of this starting rotation?
Yeah, so obviously I've not been shy with my criticisms of Domingo German. That's a fact. I'm a critical guy when it comes to him, but I will say in the last 2 years he's been a pretty slow starter. Last year he got off to a rough start and quietly kind of turned it around. I believe he had an ERA of like 5 or no, it was 8.22 and a 7.42 FIP after his first 2 starts. I remember that Houston start just got destroyed. And then in 2021, his first 2 starts, 9 ERA, had 7 innings pitched, 7 runs. He gave up 4 home runs. He had more home runs given up, I think, than he did. No, he had 4 home runs, 7 strikeouts. That's a terrible rate. That's kind of how he is. I don't know if that's because he just needs time to settle in, but I feel like he's definitely not as bad as the first 2 starts have shown. I think it's really hard to be that bad. And kind of like how Brito kind of out of nowhere went from, first 2 starts just cruised through to that last start. He was just knocked around the ballpark. I kind of feel weirdly enough like Herman's going to have the inverse of that. He's been so bad to start the year. He's kind of due for a good one or an okay one. But the Twins have the clear pitching advantage here. Tyler Mahle is gross. Tyler Mahle has, the velocity is similar to Herman. So you're like, okay, maybe the fastballs are similar. Tyler Mahle has an elite riding fastball, doesn't get much drop, good amount of horizontal break. It's a really good 4-seamer. It's a really good primary fastball. Then he's got the slider. He's added some sweep to the pitch. It's a really good slider. Good whiff rate. It's going to be a good pitch. I know that the slugging percentage and the batting average against it aren't great initially, but the stuff on it is good. And then, of course, the split finger. His splitter has kind of been one of his go-to weapons for a while now, and it's as nasty as ever. The vertical separation there is going to present a lot of issues for the New York Yankees. There's going to be a lot of strikeouts. There's going to be a lot of ground balls on that pitch. But if you feel like if you can attack that fastball, you can get to the fastball. He's trying to set up that splitter count. If you can get aggressive here, I think you can find some success here, but the Twins had the clear pitching advantage. And obviously, like, as you mentioned, at some point in the offseason, I'm probably going to be, pushing narratives about how they should sign him. But yeah, they have the clear pitching advantage here, but I think German has pitched so bad he's due for a good one. And that's kind of like that's my angle here for German. He's been so bad so far, and he's a slow starter. You feel like he's just got to get one in. It's got to at least be one. He can't be bad every single start, right? Even Andrew Heaney had his moments, right? I feel like it's impossible to continue to be as bad as he's been to start the year.
Yeah, man. I mean, look, We need a Herman good start, and like you said, you can't have bad starts every time. This would be a really good time to pick up a win. We're currently on a 2-game losing streak, and we need to at least walk away with something positive from this series against the Twins. But let's take a look at the Yankees batting order for today. Now, of course, we have DJ LeMahieu returning to the lineup, which is very good news because we have sorely missed his services on the offensive side, and of course, his defensive qualities are not overlooked. Right? He's playing third base today on the hot corner with Josh Donaldson, still working his way back from that hamstring injury. And for what it's worth, Josh Donaldson, the Yankees have been better without him. And Josh in that 5 spot, the first 5 of the batting order today are exactly what my preference would be if I had to choose. You got DJ leading off, of course, Judge, who's manning center field today, Anthony Rizzo playing first base, Giancarlo Stanton batting DH, Gleyber Torres in the 5th spot batting, playing second base as he usually is nowadays. Franchy Cordero in right field, who had a really nice catch yesterday. He's been solid, has a couple homers this season, like 4 homers and 11 RBIs, if I'm not mistaken. Oswaldo Cabrera in left field, he had 2 hits yesterday, 2 singles, making good contact, not a ton of power going on there, but he's getting on base, and that's all you can hope for. Kyle Higashioka at catcher batting 8th today. And then you have Anthony Volpe batting 9th at shortstop. And Volpe had his first home run yesterday, as I mentioned before, had a pretty solid game. And, Volpe has looked good in the leadoff spot. I wonder how long it takes for them to kind of kick him up there. Maybe when DJ LeMahieu needs some rest or whatever it might be, Volpe will be leading off. But for the time being, DJ LeMahieu will be leading off and, playing third base, which he's definitely more than capable of doing. He's a really, really good defensive player on the hot corners. We'd love to see that. The catchers, I want to ask you something about the catchers, Ryan. Jose Trevino and Kyle Higashioka have had a really hard time catching runners stealing this year. Their throws have been very bad. Like you see, they're skipping, they're hopping, they're all way off the mark. What do you think is going on? Do you think it's more so just the fact that catchers are having to rush their throws because the base paths are smaller, the bases are bigger, you get a lot more of a jump because you can only throw over twice? The rushing of that entire sequence may mess with the fundamentals and kind of throw off their arms and those throws to second base. Do you think that that's kind of having an impact? Because it's been kind of tough to watch them try to get these guys at second base and when opposing teams are trying to steal.
Yeah, Trevino's throws and Higashioka for them as well. I don't want to just make this a Trevino thing. They've never really been great throwers in terms of like throwing velocity. And just adding a bunch of volume on top of that when guys run more and you have catchers who already aren't like huge threats to limit the running game. That's what happens, right? You get run on more. And then the pitchers, they're not really that quick to the plate either. It's weird because you'd have to watch each stolen base and review it and kind of determine whether it's the pitcher slow to the plate or the pitcher misses their spot or they just get a good jump. There's a lot of different factors involved here. But it's certainly, there's a mixture between, the catchers not having great throwing arms and kind of adjusting to a new environment where guys are running more than ever. On top of that, remember Trevino didn't really get many reps in spring training with the team. He suffered an injury during spring training that kind of limited him. And Kyle Higashioka went to the WBC, and he didn't play much in that World Baseball Classic either. So, and there weren't the new rule changes for Major League Baseball. You didn't see all of them translate over to the WBC because it's not a directly a Major League Baseball tournament. It is a World Federation type of thing. So, weirdly enough, those guys really haven't gotten much work with that. So this is kind of their spring training for throwing guys out. So is that ideal for the Yankees? No, but pitchers have to be quicker to the plate. They have to figure out, their strategy in terms of pitch calling when guys are on. Now, you don't want to affect your pitch calling too much when guys are on because, if teams know you're going to increase your fastball usage with a runner on first, that's not good, right? Especially since there are a lot of guys on this team who their best pitch isn't their fastball, right? Like, for example, let's say I'm going to use an example. Domingo German. Domingo German's on the mound today, right? His curveball is obviously his primary pitch. That's his best pitch. If Domingo German has to throw more fastballs and there's a runner on first, and that fastball we know is very hittable, and batters know he's going to go to his fastball more in an attempt to try to gun down those runners, they're going to tee off of him. So I think the Yankees are kind of not conceding the runner on second, but I think they'd rather throw the right pitches and execute pitches and go out and get outs instead of jeopardizing their pitcher's ability to attack in the strike zone or jeopardize their pitchers in terms of making the wrong pitch calls to try to throw a runner out at second. Again, pitchers are going to have to be quicker to the plate. Catchers are going to have to get more adjusted, but it kind of goes hand in hand. It's one of those things where I'm not really sure what the immediate fix is, but I know that the organization's probably scrambling to figure it out right now. Tanner Swanson, obviously the catching coach, done an excellent job with framing so far, but this is a new challenge for the organization.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how things kind of progress here. Obviously, it definitely changes, take time to get used to. But this Yankee team, we need to see some more life from them offensively. The solo home runs, while we love them, are not enough. We need base runners. We need guys to hit homers with guys on base. And we need better contact hitting, just more consistency throughout the lineup. Gleyber Torres has had a quiet couple of days. He's still making decent contact. It's just not falling into play like as it was the first week and a half of the season. But hopefully he can bounce back. This Minnesota Twins team, they're actually kind of solid. I think they're 10-4 now, so they're a pretty solid team. Carlos Correa hates us, and he wants to beat the crap out of us. Byron Buxton, when healthy, one of the best players in the game, and obviously his speed is prevalent. The guy can score from first base on a single in the gap. It's kind of tough to when these guys get on base, just one hit and bam. That first game against Brito really just gave them a ridiculous amount of confidence. And I think that we've just been kind of trying to get out of this ever since. We've been trying to fight this off, and they have that confidence to make a late game comeback. And, there is a conversation to have about the closer position, which I think that we should maybe tomorrow discuss, what to do there. Because Clay Holmes, can he be trusted right now? What are the alternatives? Why, should Wandy Peralta, or why should Ron Marinaccio be considered? Even Michael King? Are there other people here that could be in the mix and kind of taking those reps away from Holmes, who kind of needs to figure out that sinker before anything, and maybe they just keep running him out there and seeing if he can get out of innings until he's kind of right. But this is a pitcher who has probably more bad performances in the MLB than good ones, if I were to say. Coming from the Pittsburgh Pirates, he kind of wasn't very good, and then he just found his groove with the Yankees. So I'm not surprised to see a regression after that ridiculous first half of last season. Velocity is, probably will ramp up as the year goes on, but the location is obviously not great, and the walks have been just awful, man. He when he loses the strike zone, the guy just can't throw a strike. So it's tough to watch, but we'll kind of discuss that tomorrow. Let us know your thoughts about the pregame, pitching matchup. Do you trust Domingo German? The lineup, DJ LeMahieu returning, definitely a nice positive for this Yankee team. But as always, make sure to like and subscribe as always. And if you enjoyed the episode, make sure to drop a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Appreciate the love as always. And let's go Yankees.